thank you, Kari, for coming and showing up on my podcast. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
I want to thank Cohatch for letting us use this wonderful room.
It's a beautiful room.
And I'm Don with I Am Lakeland. Tell me about Kari and what you do.
Great. That would be why I was asking you, right? Like how long have you been here? Kari PFS Investments. So I do personal finance and I do it for small businesses and individuals. I have a heart for small business, so I added that. It really started with families, really just trying to make and save more money, right? The financial literacy that we don't get in school. And that's kind of where my heart is the education of it and then the implementation of that as well. So that's kind of where it is. Actually, I was born in Michigan, Lansing, Michigan.
Oh, if I'd have known that, why did you tell me? No, I'm a
That's
Buckeye.
it, I'm out.
I'm a Buckeye.
Oh, we're gonna have to wrap it up. No, I'm just kidding. We're wrapping up now. Close it down. Close it down. No, I'm just kidding. But the great thing about it is you know, in Michigan, of course, I've got a lot of family there, and they a lot of times they say, hey, oh, we got a house across the street, right? Like a cousin of mine. And yeah, I don't want to shovel snow. So, but I've been here since '85. So.
Oh, 85.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I pretty much know just Lakeland, and I was in Brandon for a little bit. My mom was a realtor for a while before she went back to nursing school. So, yeah, and so for me, it was majority of my life was in Lakeland. But she always worked 2-3 jobs, and she ended up being. I lost my stepfather when I was 9, and she had come down here with my dad. My real father was already here, was a broker in this area for like 40 years. He moved to Winter Haven, and they just basically said business is better in Florida because coming from there, you know probably already like GMC, all of that.
Oh yeah.
It was auto.
The mid '80s, early '80s.
Yes, big time. So you already get it. So that was kind of the thing. Plus they're parrot heads.
Yeah.
So what better place to be than
there
Florida,
you go.
right? And so I grew up in that, and you know. After I lost my stepdad, mom was, like I said, she was a single mom. She was working 2-3 jobs. She worked here at a restaurant, a couple different ones have been around for a long time. And here's the thing. I love this town. I've always loved this town. I went to Southwest Elementary. I went back to different schools. I graduated at Lakeland. And but I found myself doing kind of what she did, and that's working really, really hard for everything. I always worked 2 jobs since I was 14 years old.
Wow.
So I'm not afraid of work, right? I don't know what the deal is these days, but the world is different, right?
That's the truth.
It's a whole other.
You see it all the time.
And I don't even want to say it's generational, because even though it is to a point, I have a 25-year-old and 23-year-old boy, both boys, and a grandbaby. He's a 1.5 years.
All right, your first one, huh?
Oh my gosh, yes, first. And I'll tell you the truth. Nobody talks about this. Do you have any grandchildren?
Nope.
Okay.
My oldest,
Nope.
Ben, is 21, and he's at Polk State, and he's single. And my daughter is graduating from high school next week, and she's at McKeel.
Congratulations.
She's 17.
Yeah. My boys were at McKeel for a while, but my youngest literally looked at me when he was like 7 or 8 and said, Mom, charter schools aren't for everybody.
Oh, wow. You had
like,
foresight, huh? Wow.
Okay, kid. Really, he just didn't want to, he didn't want to be there. So
you got a grandbaby.
But I got a grandbaby, yeah. And the thing is about grandchildren is no one really tells you the part that you don't really know, that you don't have any control. Like your own kids, you have some kind of like say. You have 0 say in your grandbaby, and you have to just grin and bear it.
You do,
yeah.
I would never do that.
Yeah, right. You're like. So, anyways, long story short, though, he's absolutely amazing. You know what I mean? Obviously, I could probably spend the entire time talking about him, but that's not why we're here. But it's really cool. So I can't wait for you when it's time.
I'm in no rush.
Because I was not in a hurry, and I was like, oh.
We got married late, and we had kids late.
Oh, okay,
I was
cool. 32
when Ben was born, and 36 when Jen was born.
Really?
So it was really late, and I'm still in no
Well,
hurry.
you look great, because I just calculated that math.
Are you kidding me?
Well, like that's okay. No, seriously.
Yeah.
Probably because you got to enjoy some of your life, maybe
Yeah.
for your kids. That could
Yeah,
be
I was
it.
in no rush.
Yeah, I totally did the opposite.
Oh yeah, you started early?
Yeah, I started really early. I had my first one at 17, my second one at 19, and I found myself in the same path that my mother was on. I was with their father for about 18 years, but then I ended up being the single mom life. That was it for a long time. So did the marriage thing, did the single mom thing, always worked a couple jobs, and that's kind of like what my story was for so long. It's just like you work really hard, but like one thing I realized, and I went back to college, I graduated Southeastern University.
Oh, you did?
Double majored there, yep. And I loved it, and it was such a great experience. So so oftentimes people will hear me kind of like, I'm not bashing colleges by any means, but I definitely am not saying, oh, you got to go to college, you got to get a good job, right? Like,
Right.
you know, once I learned, I came out of college after 2 degrees, making $4,000 more than I was making before college, and I went to taxes.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? So it's just after 60 grand in debt, you kind of go, wait a minute here. And so part of me,
You're spinning your wheels.
you are. And I found myself, like, I really wanted to do psychology. That was kind of where my heart is. I want to be able to help people. I love how our brain works. I love just the idea of everybody, as human beings, we all have different personalities, different perceptions, etc. Right?
Of course.
Well, I found that all of that still works in money. As a matter of fact, it works in finance so much that the psychology of money is an entire, I would rather say the entity, it's a mindset, right? It's
Sure.
a paradigm, really is. And so often we don't talk about it, we don't think about it. So after taking a personal finance class and still not learning things like the rule of 72, or as you've heard me say several times, the FIN, right? That financial
Sure,
independence number,
absolutely.
right? You're like, what's that FIN thing? And I never knew it. And I took finance, right? So I went to Travis Tech. I don't know if you know anything
I've
about
heard of
Travis.
it.
Okay, Travis Tech, yep. It's a trade school and also things like accounting, etc. So I took a couple years there. I ended up working at it was Clark and Daughtry then, which was
Oh,
Watson.
man,
There's
I remember Clark and
Yeah,
Daughtry.
do you remember Clark
I was
and
at
Daughtry?
Watson
Okay,
Clinic when Clark
yeah.
and Daughtry was around.
Yep, exactly. So we were kind of like the opposite sides of the track, same thing. And so, and then there was Bond Clinic, right? There was kind of us three. And I loved that, loved the doctors and stuff, and I kind of worked my way up to a point, and then I said, I gotta do something different, I gotta make more money, I got 2 kids, yada yada. And that's when I went to Travis, and I went for accounting. But I went to Summit, and I started working at Summit for like 10 years. Summit
Oh, wow.
It's a workers' comp company, love it, love it,
The
love
building
it.
up downtown.
The one that took over the downtown,
Yeah.
and everybody's like, oh, I hear somebody. But you know what, I have to stick up for them because for years upon years, that conversation was there about, a better location, because they got.
Oh, they did. Oh,
And
wow.
so they finally got a better, so I'm happy for them, even though
Sure.
it's like, that's an eyesore. I don't think
Yeah.
so. I think it's great. So anyway, I won't be complaining about that for them. I think it's great. So, but I also was like, I gotta find out. I found myself, Dawn, inside of this, I was doing premium audit, and I found myself going, I created something called EMT, which is Employee Motivational Team, and it was like a little EMT bus or truck rather,
Oh,
that
wow.
we created for people
Oh,
to
I
put their
see.
suggestions in and their complaints, so people would stop complaining to the managers, you know what I mean, like, just
Sure.
trying to figure out a way to build retention. And then I realized, wait a minute, I really probably should be in something like HR because I love people so much, right? And I'd hear on the phone things like, can you just be my agent, right? So they would have workers' comp agents, and I would come help them work through what they needed to get done. So actually, that's not how that works. But it made me realize that I could be used in a different spot and be better serving other people and myself if I'm more in line with what I really love. And that's
Absolutely.
people. Does that make sense?
Of
I feel like
course.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're not loving it, you're dragging. It's dragging.
You're not dragging. I was like, I was the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. person to the barely doing anything person. And I'm like, okay, that's because I'm not where I need to be, right?
That's right.
And so, yeah, I love the people, but I don't like the minutia of the daily tedious things. That's not my
Yeah.
personality,
The
right?
corporate grind.
Yeah, and it just wasn't for me, and so I needed to kind of realize that and just be okay with it, right?
Sure.
It wasn't a thing then though. And I wanted to do like life coaching, was not even a thing at the time that I really was wanting to do something like that. So I didn't, but it's so, we already know.
It's ongoing.
It's ongoing.
Yeah.
And everybody's doing something like that. And so I found my way when I decided to get, a buddy of mine was like, from college actually, he did sales. I'm not a salesperson, that's just not my personality, but I love people. And he's like, oh, I think you'd be great at this. You're teaching people about money. I'm like, I don't want to go back to school. And he's like, no, it's licensing. It's like a 4-year degree and like however long it takes you to pass a test. I'm like, all right.
Is it like the Series 6 or Series 7?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly. So Series 6. There's several of them, but that's 6 is what 401ks, all the different things that you can do, mutual funds, etc. So yeah. So I got life insurance and then I got investment licensed, and I thought this if I can, first of all, if I can learn this for myself, right? Because even though I didn't have credit cards at the time, I wasn't like in a bunch of debt. I did, I don't know if you know Dave Ramsey
Yeah.
or anything. Okay.
Of course.
So he started, of course, say of course, but there's actually people who don't know who he is. Because I ask that often. Well, he started with the company that I chose to work with. And, he was saved there. It was a whole deal, but he wrote a book, and, they used to have podcast slash
His
radio
radio
station. You remember
of
that?
course.
Yeah, the David Roy
He doesn't
show.
have it no more?
No, well, he has his own, but David Roy shows where he kind of started the whole thing
Oh,
when he
okay.
was working the company, and then he wrote a book and
Okay,
you
it
know,
took off.
made way more money doing
Oh,
what he was
yeah.
doing, and then kind of pocketed it, and then created a whole deal. So I went through that at church a couple times, right? Paid my $100, did a program, and we got to baby step one, right, and two, and then back to one. So the problem that I noticed is that there wasn't anybody that like locked arms with me. It was like, here's a program, watch this thing, learn some great information, which there's some great information that I was teaching, but no actual application of that information, right? And so that's why people have to continue to do it over and over again to kind of pick up more things, because you're doing it and figuring it all out from that point on. Make sense?
Sure.
So anyways, yeah, that's kind of what really I thought, God, if I can just figure out how to help myself out, learn the things I need to learn,
Right.
and make a change and some differences, then I can maybe make some money helping other people do it.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where it started.
That's really cool. Well, it's kind of unfair. When I retired in 2017, I was bored, didn't have anything to do, and I always was curious about money. I said, what the hell is the deal with money?
Yeah.
Why don't I ever have any? Why
Yeah.
is it? So
Why is it ever flowing everywhere else?
that's right. Well, I spent 2 years studying money.
Did you? Good.
Also, my family ancestry. I was always interested in family ancestry.
Yes.
So for 2 years, all I did was go back and forth between researching my family ancestry and learning about money.
Yeah.
And I really learned a lot.
It's amazing.
And
you can.
I'm talking way back.
About where you originate from?
I'm talking
I
about
mean money.
money.
Yes.
Way back there. So I've learned about money, and I've learned about who and what and the whole system.
The whole. Good.
Yeah. And so I'm
It's the only time I'm into history is when it comes to that.
when it comes to money, right? Yeah. And most people think that these pieces of paper are money, and they don't understand. It's currency.
Yep.
This is money.
I love it.
That's money.
Yeah.
And most people say, oh, most people, they put money in the bank and they think, oh, I've got $100. I just put $100 in the bank. I got $100. They don't understand that they're a creditor. They've just made a loan to the bank.
Exactly.
The bank cannot pay you back if they choose to. Now, they might be in a little trouble if they don't. But most people say, oh, okay, I got money. I put it in there and I can go get it whenever I want. Well, these bail-ins may be happening, and they're happening in other countries. So if you think that's money, wait and see. You're going to find out that it has to hold value.
I think what you're saying right here, and just to know for the podcast, we're videoed, okay. We're holding coins here. Here, the thing about that is that I don't know if you ever did this, Don, but I used to drive across down the road, and I go, how does the bank make money? Like, how do they do that, right? And of course, Lakeland doesn't have like big, tall, beautiful buildings, et cetera, that much, but really, they're all have. How do they make money? Like, where does that come from? And I never knew, because were you ever taught any of the stuff that you learned in school? Was it like a reoccurrence of what you had already learned? No, right.
Well,
We didn't get like a Money 101 or how not to die broke 202 or anything.
and you
in
find out
between
why.
that.
With your research, and you find out why.
I'm clear.
You know, okay.
Yeah, right. This is not going to be a conversation we'll probably have time for today.
Okay.
But it can be scary, and I have conversations with clients all the time about what if the dollar goes out? What if this happens? And I said, okay, the great thing is that there's history out here about where we came from. It hasn't, what you remember in your spending days, especially if you're between 40 and 50, whatever the last 30, 40 years of your spending habits, right? And being part of the economy, right? Getting to go to work, get a job.
That's our system.
That's been the system, but it wasn't that way always. There's always currency, but what's the currency itself, right? So you got the coins. We talked about trading beforehand and actually having to borrow gold, and before, now it's paper, but technically, right, like when they're going, what about digital? Well, I'm not gonna stop buying toilet paper, right? I'm not gonna stop buying the things that I need. We are a consumer country, especially America, right? But we're a consumer country.
Yeah.
So I don't see us anytime soon not purchasing things, right? And so when we talk about the stock market, where it come from, what kind of companies are in there, what does it look like, what you're investing in, of course, again, we don't have time for the international conversation, but still, through and throughout, would you or would you not agree that currency is always gonna be there in some way? What it looks like could be different.
Well, of course, yeah.
That I think is the,
But you gotta also know that every fiat currency has gone to zero.
right?
Every fiat currency has gone to
yeah.
zero. So there's gonna be something, and it's around 100 to 110 years. The British pound disappeared 100,
It
and we're
did.
sitting at 100, 110 right
I was
now.
gonna say, we're right at that
So,
mark. Yeah.
That's probably why a lot of people are
They
thinking.
are, and I get.
And you know the debt level.
Yeah, oh, well,
The debt is what's gonna cause the
I
problem.
was gonna say it's because trillions,
Yeah, oh yeah, the
there's not even.
derivative market, oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
So, but also, knowing that, what's your first notion when you go, okay, listen, I know where we're going, what it looks like we could be going to, right? Knowing the levels of where it's been before, and about every 100 years or so, what would you say? Are you gonna stop living your life, or what does that look like? What are you doing? And you know, obviously without details, right? But for your own finances and your protection to continue to stay in retirement and continue to live the life that you're trying to live today.
Well,
Besides having a gun and Bible, if that's your thing.
no, I'm a fortunate person. Like I said, the VA takes care of me.
Yeah,
I receive enough from the VA to survive, so they take care of me financially. So
which
that's why
thanks
I'm
to
able.
VA, because I will tell you that that's not, I mean, I
Yeah,
feel like there's so much more
there's
that
a
can
lot.
be done.
They could be taking care of a lot other
So much more,
soldiers, you know.
yes.
And I
But-
know for a fact that there's soldiers that are worse off than I am, and weren't able to get.
What they need to be getting.
Right.
It's very, yeah.
It's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate, actually.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm not into making a lot of profit on this business that I'm doing. I want to give back because I know people are paying their taxes,
Mhm.
and I know that
That's
tax
part of
money is
it,
coming to me, and I could just take it and run. But I don't want to do that. I want to give back to some degree. So I don't charge anybody for my services.
Right,
Podcasts, videos, reels,
Yeah.
links. I don't charge anything. I'll buy the T-shirt for $5 or $10, sell it for 15 or 20 bucks, and I'll make 5 or 10. But that's the extent of what I do. My
so
beautiful
everybody
little cup.
who can see this, buy a cup.
There you go. Buy some
Buy
merchandise.
merchandise, I'm definitely gonna get.
And I'm trying to
Get some
partner
stuff.
up with some people. Put mine on one side and put logos on the other side.
Oh, I like that
Anybody who's
idea.
interested in it, man. I'm always open to collaborations.
It's different, you already know with finance, there's so many legalities I have to,
Yeah.
can't do or whatever, but I love that, that's a great idea, I think it's important, but this is exactly right, so, and I know you are constantly giving back, that's kinda like what I've heard consistently, by the way.
Well, constantly.
But-
I just like to provide the service because
You are, yeah, you're providing the service that
I've got the time. A lot of people don't have the time. I've got
Yeah.
the time to help other people, so that's just one way. That's the way I like to do it. And my wife.
I love it,
and
I feel like
she's-
that's such a,
It's a battle with me and my wife. Donnie, you should charge it. Donnie, you should charge it.
yeah, I mean, Brandy said this morning, we were just discussing about how you need to charge more, or you need to charge something and stop giving away all your
Well,
services.
thank
and
you.
Because nobody, and I get it, cause I can see it now, I'm like, oh, it all makes sense, right, like what's happening here.
Yeah, but there's a thought. Everybody thinks, and there's a reason behind everything. You just
There
gotta find
is.
out what that reason is.
There is.
And the reason is because I don't want to sit there and be a vegetable and just draw on checks every month.
Well,
I want to
your
give back.
brain doesn't, I mean, we are as human beings,
Yeah,
we have
I
to
don't want to
grow,
rob. Yeah,
we have to do something, otherwise we will.
That's right,
That's
that's right.
exactly the first thing, I'm like, people talk about retirement, every time I say the word retirement, I just mean options. I just mean giving the options to do what it is that you wanna do when you wanna do it. So when you want to work, and you wanna learn, you wanna do whatever it is that you wanna do, if you wanna give back, like you have the opportunity to do that. And that's the real key in conversation when we talk about retirement, right? You know what I mean?
but I was on the track of saving.
Yeah.
And then I studied money and I found out that when you go to the bank,
They don't
got
have, wait a minute,
inflate-
you're just telling me that they don't have a big pile of cash with your name on it and a pretty bow?
I haven't found that bank. Is that the bank of what?
Oh,
But I'd like to know what
You're
that
like,
is.
where's that bank at?
Yeah.
Yeah, not here or anywhere, so that's it, but going back to that conversation, I really didn't know how banks made money, and like, how does that work, and I didn't realize that, hey, listen, why do you think they can give you a guaranteed % on your CD, right? why. They can give you a guarantee. You think they're gonna make less money than you? No, they're gonna make sure that they're investing that, they're putting it into the market, and they're gonna make the difference. Plus, they're also loaded to the neighbor at 29%, the credit card, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you borrow money
Or
from
loaning
them,
it back to yourself, one of the two.
right, if you borrow money from them, you're gonna pay that back plus the interest, and
For
that
sure.
interest is theirs.
Yep.
So that's the whole point of that.
Yep.
And they're gonna,
You're putting your money in the savings to turn around and get a credit card to use their money to, and then pay them interest if you don't do it and play the game right.
right,
Which, you know, that's the thing. Of course, Dave Ramsey is definitely a big no credit cards, right, conversation. This is not against Ramsey at all, because I do strongly believe in leveraging. Also, there's a right way to play it that affects your credit score, that affects everything, that the way we live life today. But having a big pile of cash in the savings, especially with inflation, isn't helping and hasn't helped anybody, ever, ever, right? So the math doesn't work out that way. And so, especially if you have a credit card and you're paying any interest on it, much less 10, 20, 30%.
and what I found is the people, if you ask the average person what inflation is, they don't even know what the definition of inflation. They think, oh, I went to buy this bag of Pringles and it was 99 cents last month and today it's $2. They think that's inflation. That's not inflation. Prices don't inflate and deflate. Prices go up and go down. What inflates and deflates? The expansion of the money supply is inflation. When the government or whoever writes more dollars in the system, that's inflating, inflation and deflation.
Mm-hmm.
The price is going up as a cause and effect. So
That's
most people
a
are like,
reflection of.
right, they say, oh, that my Pringles, the inflation. No, if you get your definition right, you'll figure out why. It's the money supply is expanding, and right now we're in a major deflation, in my opinion. I think that's an opinion thing, but. So when people,
Everything can be.
yeah, but they do know that when they go to the
Yes.
grocery store, they're gonna be paying more,
Yep,
irregardless
yep.
of what the definition is.
Yep.
Like, and I use Pringles as an example because I remember buying Pringles at 99 cents
Yeah.
from a local
I
grocery
was gonna say, I
store,
feel like I did too for my son. He loved those.
and I love them. And now it's $2.29.
Is it really?
And it's
I
within
haven't
a
had
year.
to buy Pringles in so I'm not that I'm surprised.
Within
by
a
it
year,
either,
it's gone from
but-
99 cents to
yeah.
$2.29.
Well, the entire nation has gone on the egg conversation, right? And everybody's getting chickens and doing chicken,
Yep.
coops, etc. Because we're going, wait a minute, which, it wasn't probably about 6-7 years ago. I was listening to, it was just a leader in the industry, and he was talking about how, just how our economy goes, just like you had mentioned, just talking about from the industrial age and then what happened after that, and where we ended up going back to. We're going to the agriculture, and we're actually living off our own land, we're going those, and you start seeing this, right? You start seeing that, the waves of what happens. And what's everybody doing? Trying to live off their own land, right? Trying to buy more property, of course.
Right.
We're not growing anymore, so that's a thing, right?
Yep.
So,
And people want, we're used to having extra benefits, if you will, like the conveniences of life,
big time.
inexpensive gas compared to the world. I mean, we've
Yep.
got, it's still high to us now, and higher groceries, the rent and the housing market is gonna get a little bit worse, I think. I think we're going down.
We're starting to do a little bit of level out as far as that goes. And I happen to love the real estate world, but again, my father was a broker, I married a realtor, I ended up doing a lot of workshops for realtors because again, they go into business to be in business for themselves, and some, often, not always, but often you can make a lot of money, but depends on how you work, right?
There's
If
a
you work.
lot of people that make a lot of money.
There's a lot of
working,
people that
yeah.
make a lot of money as long as you're working. So when realtors go, oh, the market's slow, blah, blah. Yeah, I still got clients or realtors are making 200 plus. Like, it's not that there's no houses. There's low. But the point of it is, you still, when you go into business for yourself, and this is the kind of conversation I wanted to make sure that, and reason why I'm networking again is because you're really good at what you do. But a lot of times you forget about what you need later, right? So when you can't do what you're doing right now, or you no longer want to, or you want to scale, or you just need to live off of whatever you've actually built up, what did you build, right? So the conversation I said this morning was like, hey, the longer you wait, the more you have to save,
That's right.
okay? So I don't care if it's in the mattress, I don't care if it's in the bank, which I do care. There's a conversation to that, so I said that, but that's not true. I do care. However, no matter what you do, not doing anything at all because you're going to later is always the worst plan.
I agree, 100%. If you don't plan, you're gonna be left behind and you're gonna struggle.
Big time, right? There's that whole, little, what's the word, I wouldn't know what you call it, which is when you say something over and over again, it just says, hey, if you don't plan, you're failing to, if you fail to plan, then, if you plan to, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I probably should have thought about that before I
That's right,
started to say it,
that's
but my
right.
brain was like,
We
wait
got it.
a minute. But yeah, so that's exactly what it is. And if you don't, and which I didn't, again, I was going to, I had a 401k at work, I was in corporate life, by the way, I needed that money, didn't understand the major long-term impact that it had on me when I took out that money. And I needed it for a surgery, I needed it for different things, and it happens all the time. So people don't plan by doing their life insurance and making sure they're good. They don't plan by making sure that, now depending on what it is, you may or may not need that, but they don't plan on making sure that they're saving in and doing emergency fund and doing a short, like all of those things, which are massively important, because nobody's coming to save us.
That's right.
And if you don't take care, and this is kind of the same idea of like, if you're gonna live on your own land, the reason why you're doing this is because you're seeing such a great need. We're such a reactive, and I say we because I didn't really, until I knew better, right? I couldn't do better, right? But like really knowing and educating yourself, and we have no problem with information. Where this is definitely the information age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you spent 2 years and you know way more than majority of people in the world, actually. Good.
Not
90
world.
Well, not world, I meant America, I apologize. And a good 90, probably 3%, right, of people who don't know any of that, right? And I didn't either. So until I said, okay, well, let me get the licenses.
It takes
let me
the
learn this.
desire to
And
want to.
it does. And it's like when we have fear, we don't move, right? We're stuck in where we're at. And so yeah, we do. We put our hands out and we're like, I can't, because we can't, it's not clear enough for us to make a step forward. So my entire job is to clear a path for people to take that one step to say, okay, first of all, let's lock arms. Let's figure out what this looks like for you. You can do this, right? We can do hard things.
Absolutely.
And we can look at what our debt is. We can look at what our savings is. And that's really what I would say the difference maker is between me and anybody else on, besides, making sure I want to do the full, what I call a strong financial home, starting with the foundation to the roof, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's also kind of planting the garden and stuff around you, just kind of making sure that you can do this. Number one, giving you the education, helping you walk through here, but also walking with you through the things. And so that includes debt or getting you out of debt. Okay.
Absolutely.
It includes, because if you go, okay, I'm gonna invest, but yet you go, well, as soon as, because I get this question, do I pay off debt or do I invest? Yes. Right? Yes and yes.
That's right.
Absolutely both, right? But how? Well, that's kind of where I go. Okay,
That's where you're special.
that's where kind of where I specialize and say, okay, let's get you as far as business goes and your personal. Not everybody's business, but I just happen to love, because a lot of times, they go, I'm not sure what is in my business or what's in my personal, it's all together, we do all the things, and
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
it's,
It seems like you're spending your time helping people get their financial priorities in order.
yes.
Take
actually.
the time, like you said, hold them together and say, look, this is where you're at, this is where you can be, and just learn the disciplines.
Where do you want to go? This is the steps you need to take to get there.
That's right.
Exactly right.
And it just takes a little bit of time, and sometimes it's the trigger, and somebody, oh my God, okay,
Yes,
now I gotta get
sometimes,
it. Okay,
yep.
you're just that thing. And then sometimes you pulling teeth, and then it just goes out the other ear.
And that's actually true. I had somebody just this morning say, talking about business consulting brokerage, and the individual said, the thing is that they don't want to listen, and then you consult, but they don't want to hear you. And I get it. And there are certain things like you literally can only move furniture on the Titanic, right? Back and forth. It's eventually going to sink if you don't make steps. So there's that. But when you said you give a lot of stuff away free, majority of that stuff I do is free. I don't charge for the services.
That's right.
I don't charge that way. It's if they need something, if it's an investment, then the investment company pays me. If it's a life insurance and the life insurance, like all the things that I do,
Right.
The companies will pay. And so I do a lot of other services that end up not being, it's just.
Yeah, you're not making a dollar.
I'm not making a dollar.
You're helping
but
humanity and people.
I'm absolutely making a difference, and that's the entire point, right? So when I go to sleep, I have zero problem sleeping, right? Like zero.
That's right. Oh,
You
that'd be nice.
Yeah, it is actually. When I hit the ground, I'm like, or in the bed, let's say, I'm just done. I'm done. So it's kind of funny though, because I get a little word saying that, like, eventually something medically is going to happen. I'm not going to be able to sleep, but that's going to be terrible, because I hear about it all the time. I love, I only do 6 hours, but that's 6 hours I really want to.
I would say that.
I'm
Man.
so sorry you don't sleep.
Well, I do sleep. Okay, my back is
pain.
99% of it. I can't
Can't
sit
get
for long.
comfortable.
Can't sit. Yeah,
Oh.
it's physical. It's a physical thing. But I take drugs that help me
Relax.
pass out and all that. Yeah. And I'm a meditator too.
Good.
I'm a
Meditation. Oh, wow. We
meditation
could do a
works.
whole podcast on
Oh,
that.
my
I've
goodness.
just, you know what? Have you ever heard of Miracle Morning?
No.
Oh,
What is
Don,
that?
it like has changed, revolutionized my life.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod wrote a book called Miracle Morning, and now he does one for like anything, real estate, like different types of businesses, whatever. But he said he physically he got into a horrible wreck, and it's kind of a long story. So look it up, Hal Elrod. But he basically was sitting there and going, what is it that successful? He had a business, it was kind of going under, whatever, what was happening, and he medically couldn't do so much. But he said, what can I do? What do the successful people in this world do? Right? So he started doing massive research, kind of like he did money. He just spent a long bit of time saying, okay, what do they do? What are the like top things that I can pick from what they do and do myself? And so it ended up being he wrote something called SAVERS, right? So SAVERS, okay?
Okay.
S is for silence, prayer, meditation. Okay, so that's the first thing that starts it. So he takes an hour every day and he starts his day this way. And he does 10 minutes, 6 different things, 60 minutes. Okay, you can do it any way you want to, but this is how he did it. So the S was for silence, meditation, and prayer. And I ended up taking a lot longer during that time, but you do whatever you want. And then the second one is affirmations, right? So I don't know if you do affirmations, if you feel that's important and what that looks like. A lot of people say, oh, affirmations are crap. Well, coupled with some other things, like what does that really look like? We've been saying affirmations. We talk to ourselves negatively all the time. So you're really already doing it. You're just not doing it positively. So anyway,
That's
so
right,
affirmations.
that's right.
V is for visualization. So you visualize what you want your day to look like or what it looks like for you, and really down to the detail of what it looks like, how it feels, all the things. Kind of part of a little bit of meditation is similar, And then the E is for exercise, right? So exercise is so massively important, whatever you can do, right? So if you've got a back issue, maybe you're just doing arms, whatever, maybe,
Right.
I don't know. And then the other R was reading, and so he takes like 10 minutes and reads, or 10 a chapter, or whatever it is that you want to do. And the last one is for scribing. So for me, that's where I write the things out for the day that I need to do, because I'm a little bit clearer and I'm more focused on
That's
that time.
awesome.
Right, so when you start your day off like that every day,
I can't
like,
imagine. That's a lot. That's a lot.
but you just do chunks, like just 10 minutes a piece, and it allows you to get through a book during a certain time. People go, I don't have time for reading, I don't have time for this. Well, could you do 10 minutes? He actually does a half of that, right? So you do 5 minutes a piece, and that is actually often, I'll end up doing that, or I'll pick 3 of the 6, and just say, I can only exercise and do this, today, that's what I'm doing. But you do something every day,
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fantastic program.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a book free on Audible, and yeah.
Okay, yeah. No wonder you sleep good if you do all that work. You do it in the morning, do it in the evening, you do all that work.
I
No
do.
wonder
I
you
have a
sleep
6
good.
o'clock call every morning too, so most of the time I'm up by 5:30.
Are you
I feel like-
serious?
Oh, very.
Gosh.
So, but because I am, that's the thing, is it's like, do I want to be able to go to sleep early and crash and be done? I say early, but last night was midnight, so sometimes it's a little,
Yeah.
I'm not as good as going to bed as I am, you get it, so.
Yeah, I hired, there's a thing called Transcendental Meditation.
Transcendental?
TM, it's called TMR,
Okay.
Transcendental Meditation. It's thousands of years old.
Okay.
And I finally hired a guy to teach me, and it is incredible. It works.
Does it?
And
What does it look like? Do you?
no, it's literally quieting your mind.
Yeah, that's.
When they teach you, they give you a mantra,
Mhm.
and for 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening, you practice mantra, and all you're doing is, what I do is, I think of all my problems, all my issues, and I think them out, and then my mind is able to calm down,
Get them out of the way.
get them all the way, and the beat.
Instead of stuffing on the thing, you're telling me you're looking at them, going, oh, okay, let's deal with it, and then you push it
I've
away.
already thought
Okay,
about
yeah,
it. I
yeah.
already know
All
what
this
my
is
answer's
happening?
gonna be.
All right.
So if you just sit down, you relax, and you think of every problem that you can think of.
Oh.
Now,
Can believe
when you
it.
first start, you won't be very good at it.
Right.
You'll do 20 minutes, and it'll take you a month to get rid of all your problems in your head.
I feel like, isn't that kind of true with everything, right? Like, when we first start anything, we're really bad at it.
Yeah,
Bad,
right,
good
right.
kind of thing. Okay.
But once you get, depends how many problems you have too. If you don't
Facts.
have any problems, and then the first one's, oh, that was cool.
You let me know when you find something that doesn't have any problems.
That's the truth. So you just think your problems out, and once you're able to get your problems, oh, I'm gonna do that, then you can close your mind, close your thoughts down to almost nothing. And that's what is taught in TM, and it works, and you manifest anything you want. I mean,
During that
I
time,
know it works.
you're at peace. You're just.
I wanted to
Do you
retire.
practice on your breathing? Do you?
No.
Nothing like
No,
that.
I mean,
You just
literally no
really,
thought.
So this is a more of a meditation into reality type thing. So we're talking about manifesting, right? Like, as in.
Well, everything you do, I mean everything. There's nothing that you don't do that's not thought about.
Facts.
When you move your finger, you thought about it. You may not know it consciously,
It's
but
just the same
subconsciously.
thought you'd made.
Right.
Yep.
So everything comes from thoughts. And if you're able to relax your mind and you get down to the very beginning of where a thought comes,
Mm-hmm.
and you just relax it,
What's left?
you find out what the thoughts are that you have, and you can direct your thoughts to be. And then as your thoughts come up and they're getting your thoughts are getting bigger, they're manifesting the thought that you have. But I have found out it has to be at the root. I could say I'm going to go over there and turn the lights off. That's easy. But when you get down to the very bottom, you think about why, the reasoning, and
Is this true? Is this real? Do I like?
everything you can imagine.
Because I think that's I had somebody had talked to, and I love this conversation, but I had really started to kind of interview somebody who was doing almost like a marital counseling type thing, and also helped me get through a lot of things, because there's just story to everybody, right? But
Sure.
and I loved how what he had talked about, because coming from a faith that I sat down with somebody basically, and we had a conversation about this thing I wanted to do called Next Level. And it's really kind of cool, but it basically was like a group of people who are kind of doing a little bit of what, like, focusing and intentionally thinking about what we're thinking about, number one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I was talking to her about it, she's like, the word, as soon as I saw the word meditation, I had to get away from it, because so as growing up in faith, she thought, oh, that's evil. Okay, so we don't really have time for that conversation today.
Teeth, yeah.
But the point of that is that, okay, unfortunately, that perception is so off kilter, it's not funny, because literally meditation talks about in the Bible, but that's not the conversation we're having. I just wanted to say I love this conversation, because it is the fact that we are all thinking about it, and we're all having thoughts, 90-something thousand thoughts or whatever, the same thoughts that we had yesterday or the time.
95% of the same ones today were yesterday.
Yeah, we're yesterday. 95. Isn't that crazy? That's the same.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like we have to be intentional to say, if we want to be in a different, very much like our finances. My conversation is, hey, listen, I want you to look at the last 5 years. If nothing changes, then
you got your next 5 years.
Nothing changes, right? So it's like you have to change something to be able to do that. So in your thoughts, you have to go, okay, what am I thinking about? Is this serving me? Is this real, right? Like, where's this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you do that and go all the way down to the root. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's actually quite expensive to learn it. I don't know if it's become commercialized or what.
Probably.
But yeah, transcendental meditation. I think the Beatles brought it to America back in the 60s, and a whole bunch of people,
As they pass the pipe.
Ray Dalio.
Oh, yeah?
One of the richest,
Yeah.
What's Ray Dalio?
Ray Dalio. Yeah,
He's a TMer.
is he? That's pretty amazing. I believe that, though. That
He's
makes
one
a
of the
lot
head
of sense.
ones.
He's probably,
He manifested.
he's
Yeah, he's a big boy.
everybody wants to be a Ray, right?
Yeah, if you ever follow Ray, he'll tell you better start TM. The sooner you start TM, the better you're going to be.
Geez, I was gonna say, I listen to him a lot. I don't know if I've heard him say the TM, but I probably have. But I think I'm one of those, I'm always like a self-learner. I think I'm a life learner is what I used to call it. Just I'm always
Well, he's one of
trying
the
to
biggest
self-develop.
teachers. He's big on it. You manifest
cool.
all of it. And
You were about to say that's how you started. Is that how you retired? You said you then you became retired or something like that. You were saying passing as well.
no, I said I wanted to retire before I was 50.
And that's what you did?
I retired at 49, but it
High
wasn't
five,
by
high five
choice.
right here.
Now,
Oh, wait, it wasn't by choice?
it
just
wasn't by
gave up.
choice, but it's still, if you
job.
look at the facts,
Yeah, it wasn't about
I
that, right?
said I want to retire
Yeah.
before I'm 50,
And it happened.
and it happened. It manifested.
Not the way you wanted it to
Not-
happen.
You know, you want to make God laugh,
Yes, tell him your plan.
tell him your plans.
100%.
That's right.
And by the way, I just had a great conversation with somebody else, and whether anybody that listens to this podcast agrees or disagrees, that's okay. Don't send me hate mail though. No, I don't care. But the conversation was so good because we talked about how really the idea of your faith, for me, in my perception, my world, I know that I know that I know, right? So I don't care what anybody says, I know that God's there, but also I experienced, so that helped me, right? Like I get it. But also, does that mean that he didn't create perceptions or what's the word? Not really provisions, but like rules of the earth and rules of the world of energy and the way things are. So
Mhm.
he created our mind. We don't even, what was it, like 10% that we use of that?
That's what I've heard too.
In reality, what did he actually create us to be if we are in his image? There's so many things that I feel like we do create and we do actually, really play out of our lives, whether he's got a plan for us or not. It doesn't mean that he doesn't know that we're going to do that, but the point of it is, right, we do have that energy. So I think that people argue with whether, oh no, it's God's plan and he says, and he's got your entire life planned out, or if it's the conversation of there isn't really one, it's all energy and it's all this, or is it both? You know what I mean? So
Right.
I would so arguably say maybe he's created that way, like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyways,
There's
it's
all
just
kinds of
yeah.
all kinds of options there.
There's so many options there. I know.
What I found for myself, just to elaborate a little bit, is that when I'm worried about the future or I'm regretting the past, I'm not in the moment.
Yes.
And when I found, Donnie, why are you worried about what's going to happen next week? I say to myself, you're not in the moment.
Yep.
Bring yourself to the now. If you bring yourself to the now, you think clearer, my problems go away, I forgive myself and move on after regrets. And yes, I'd love to pay my house off and not have any bills at all, worry about, but I found that the more I live in the moment,
The happier
you are. That's exactly correct.
And you have one life.
That's
you
right.
have one life.
And it doesn't matter how much I try to use my brain, I'll never use more than, well, for me, it's probably 1%. But
Stop. Remember, you shouldn't say stuff like that. If you already know, you
I gotta
that's not
throw
a
comedy in the game.
Yeah. True. I mean, it is funny, but also, and I do that too, but I think that's a whole other conversation too, how we what's the word where we cope and we just kind of take ourselves out before anybody else does, and that's like a coping mechanism in addition to it's a laugh or humor. But it's unhealthy, so.
Yeah, my wife doesn't like it. Donnie's thought
The
that, Donnie's thought
definition
that.
is
But
super
she's
bad.
so used to knowing that I come up with jokes. I'm a constant
Yeah.
joker. I'm just
Yeah.
joking. And
You're
I
a
really
jokester.
love myself and I love the world. So.
Good, yeah, I
We're
can
done
see
there.
it. I love it. It's so cool.
So, you're with PFS, is that not correct?
Yes, PFS Investments.
And how long have you been at
So-
PFS?
8 years. So I did it part-time, so I was working at the county. So after I did all the things I did tell you about, I went and did staffing because I thought, I want to do HR because really I want to make a difference, right?
Okay.
And I did that, and I got, you kind of get promised the world, and then also it's a new world for me. It was not HR, it was me. Staffing agencies do a lot of work with little appreciation, so shout out to them, right? But went for one of them that was doing a lot of public things, and I met a lot of great people, but also major pay cut, 11 grand pay cut, and that was for a single mom, that was rough because I didn't get child support, I didn't get any of that stuff, like it wasn't. So that's not a for me, but that's just explaining that I needed to make better choices, right, basically. So I went to another company who said that they were, basically just promised me the world, but I ended up finding myself working 80 hours a week. Well, I lost my mom, and she was 53. She worked at Lakeland Regional as a nurse, and she was 53 and passed away from an aneurysm, and she worked 80 to 90 hours a week. And I just thought to myself, not only am I losing my kids, this is not what they, I'm not getting anywhere.
Wake up call.
Yeah, it was a wake-up call. So I took a job and I did internal audit with the county, and under Stacy Butterfield, and I realized again, I love dealing with people more than I love dealing with just numbers and minutia and the white wall of just, things. And so I found I'm always want to be in the field and doing the external audits, right? Because those were fun for me because I dealt with people. So I thought, yeah, I gotta make this happen. And that's whenever the buddy of mine that I had graduated college called and was like, hey, I think you really like this. So I started part-time and I learned it. I got licenses. I figured the thing out. First, I just got the life insurance and annuities because, that was really the time I had.
Sure.
And I did that for like 3-4 years. And then I started, I need to do the investments because that's what it was really intriguing to me. And so I learned all of that. And I figured out how I just got some clients and kind of built myself up. But I didn't go full time until probably about 2 years ago when I said, okay, I'm taking ownership of this. This is what I want to do, right?
That's awesome.
So yeah, you got to do what you love. And again, going back to what makes me happy. When I talk about this, like
I can sense the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
I mean, I'm kind of one of those people anyways. Like I like people, but it's when you do what you love, like you could do it all the time. It isn't work. I could have, a really crazy bad day, but if I'm on the phone with the client, things change for me, right? So if I can make him, it just changed, like physically, all the way down to a headache, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I can change my entire
It affects
day.
everything.
It affects everything.
Yeah, if you don't enjoy what you do, you know what they say, you never work a day in your life.
Right, if you do, right, exactly, and
You
that's
never
kind of
work
the
a day in
thing.
your life if you enjoy what you do.
So I'm like, I'll probably end up doing some kind of, it looks differently, right? Like you change as you go.
Sure,
but
that's the fun part.
yeah, but right now I'm in the grind to help as many businesses and people as possible, and that's the goal, right? So.
Wonderful. Well, what is your forte? What stands out over there that you do for your customers?
Yeah, well, besides being able to prioritize what they really need to do, I take that complicated, confusing mess of a world in their finances, and I give them the tools to take their control back. And to me, that tagline is, and somebody's like, I don't know, it seems kind of vicious, but I have a little bit of a viciousness to me.
You need it.
I'm like, you gotta take the control back. So I say, giving you the tools to control your finances so that they don't control you. Because that's the major cause for heart attacks, it's the major cause for divorces, it's just a lot, right? And so when I give it a clear, concise plan and you feel like you have more control, you can already feel the posture
That's right.
of when you have control
You
of your own
can feel the
stuff.
pressure dropping
The pressure's
off.
gone, the stress is gone. I have literally had people like we're crying together, like we're doing things, right? Like
Certainly.
because it's so real. It's money is such a big part of what our lives are, right? So for me, it's getting a thing, laying it all on the table, and kind of giving you a path to be able to understand where you're going, have control of where you're going, and be able to take that part of your life back. And do it confidently.
You know that you've earned it, and when you need it, it'll be there.
Yes.
You know that you have protected yourself, your family, and your grandkids to be in the future.
Oh man, talk about generational wealth, which
Yeah.
is a whole nother conversation. And now having a grandbaby, my real thoughts is I didn't get to do all that. My boys saw me working 2-3 jobs always and never really have anything. So the synopsis of my story in my head, by the way, which is when we talk about talking to ourselves, is you work really hard, but I never really had anything, and neither did my mom. So why is that though? Because we didn't know our worth, right? We didn't understand what it was, and we weren't working smarter because we're not aware, I guess is the best way to put it, right? Spinning the wheels, exactly. So, and nobody came to our door and said, hey, let me help you with this, right? Let's sit down and actually take a look at what you're doing instead of doing this number. But everybody's so busy doing this that they don't stop and take, it's like working in our business or working on, right?
Mm-hmm.
A conversation we have a lot when we're talking to business owners. So I just help people do that, help clarify the things, give them confidence, clarification, and a concise plan that allows them
Prioritize.
to prioritize.
Yeah.
Get
So
you
it
out
doesn't-
of debt. Let's get you, saving more. Understand what your numbers are. That thin. Just to share with everybody, since I know you've heard it a couple times, and I'll probably say it a couple more times,
Sure.
so people can. I want people to,
Absolutely.
repetition
How
is key.
important
Is that
it
right?
is.
Yeah, so that financial independence number, that amount of money that you need, sitting there to say, okay, this is how much I need saved and accumulated, okay, to last my entire retirement, which is an average of 20 years, sometimes longer, right? We figured that out. And that amount of money is the goal that you gotta reach. And the longer you wait in life, the more you have to save, the more you have to do, and the harder it is, right?
Mhm.
Which is where I found myself, because nobody talked to me about it, right? So.
Well, that's absolutely wonderful that you're going out there. I mean, you're going to provide a service, no matter what their income level is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're a 20,000 or 200,000.
Right.
Everybody's got a goal that they need to set for themselves for the standard of living that they want to live for themselves and their next generation.
And I think that's something else to say here is because I have several clients that, especially small business owners, and people go, okay, well, I have an advisor or I have an account, which if you don't, please do, because that's important. But also, things like a solo 401k. Most people don't know what that is. And I find that if you understand what's out there available to you, then you can, again, if you know better, you can do better type thing, right? So solo 401ks, SEP IRAs, like all the things that are possible for business owners are big. So there's a lot of people who do make a lot of money and are doing really, really well financially as far as making income, and they work hard for it, but they're not sure how to make that money work hard for them. And so, making millions of dollars, and right now I've got a couple of clients that have nothing saved, nothing invested, and we're at that age of like midlife going, okay, what now what are we going to do the next so we have a lot to do. And so I'm currently working with several clients in that world who's going, and then I also work with clients who, especially I love the youth, because I'll do workshops and stuff where 18-year-olds, hey, you can do 25
Catch 'em early.
bucks a month. Yes, exactly.
Catch 'em early.
It's actually, I love doing that, because if you can get in the habit of starting early, right? I've got one client, they're in their young 20s, and just to give you a synopsis, right? They're in their young 20s, they just got into a house, they've been in a house for a couple years, so they got 20 years left of the 28 years left of their mortgage, okay? They're just had a baby boy, adorable. Point being is that they're in debt quite a bit, so we're gonna get them out of that 28-year mortgage, okay? And everything else they have, because they have a side-by-side, couple, vehicles, some stuff. They got all the things that what happens, right? When you get out of college, you get credit cards and debt. That's like all the
Ain't that
things,
the truth?
right? Right. So
when you say that, it makes me remember my very first credit card was $5,000, and I think I filled it up within 3 months.
Oh, like that. I put
Out of
people who've
college.
done it in a couple of days.
Oh
like
my
literally
gosh, I
within-
couldn't believe
like,
it.
oh, I gotta get furniture, I gotta get this.
That's right.
And, next thing you're like, oh.
I got $5,000 already? Where did it go?
What happened? And then you're spending $5 for a $2 deal, right? So that's a whole conversation. But we are able to get them out. I'm going to get them out of debt, Dawn, in 6 years and 9 months. Okay.
Wow, including the house?
Including the house, including the mortgage, because, and Dave Ramsey, but it's not always the smallest debt. That's why I say I have a system. I literally plug in the numbers, and it tells us based on what type of debt, fixed or revolving, right? What type of debt, the amount of interest, all the things. And when we put it in the system, it tells them exactly what plan they need to take, step by step, so they can literally check off boxes and just, instead of just throwing money out. A lot of people do this. They go $50 here, $100 here, extra, right? If you can. It's like it's going in the trash. Literally, it's going in the trash. So, not literally, but you get it.
Yeah.
So 6 years, 9 months. And what else? They're investing, right? So they're going to be able, a couple hundred a piece they're putting into their Roth IRAs right now, but then they're going to beef it up whenever we do a couple other things that we're doing that we're getting out of debt. So it's just
let the money
work for you.
You work for what you want.
Yeah.
Your standard of living, your time is more important. Let the money. It's like getting a horse, man. Let the horse do the work, man. I'm not going to pull that wagon.
That's a great
Let
way
somebody
to.
else do it.
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute, what's the horse's job again, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's why I train the horse, right?
That's exactly
Well,
right.
That's a good analogy. I haven't used that one, but I'll have to add that to my repertoire.
Be my guest,
Per Dawn.
So yes, that is absolutely wonderful. PFS has got that big, beautiful building. I mean, I don't know how many people are in.
Which one? PFS. So we have our home office is actually in Duluth, Georgia. So
okay.
We're in Duluth, Georgia, as far as the home office goes. Like
I know
said,
you guys
we're in Canada, Guam, Puerto Rico, Hawaii. You're about to say something. Which one? Is it PFS that you're thinking?
I don't know.
Well, so we have offices all over the place.
Okay.
So PFS is the investment portion of it, and so whenever I'm sitting in Core Network, PFS is how I'm branding, right?
Okay.
And actually, technically, it's KM Solutions is probably. So I'm playing around with branding right now, especially when you start networking again. You go, I might do. I've got a website that I'm gonna probably just start using. That's just Kari Elizabeth Financial Services. That's it, right?
There you go. There you go.
Like start doing branding me, but it's actually so the life insurance is Primerica, the investments is PFS and PFS or Primerica Shareholder Services or whatever, right?
Okay.
Add on, and so there's several different things that we could do.
Yeah,
That's why I just
the financial
for
world,
Core Network,
I find that
it's just doing the advising, which is going to be the PFS.
Yeah, you got your toolbox.
Yeah, I do. I have a toolbox full of a bunch of different investment companies, which include Franklin Templeton, Invesco, and just all the
Right.
different things. Like
Yeah.
Fidelity is on there, ADP. I have all of the things at my fingertips.
That's
So-
what is needed.
It is.
That's
it
exactly what
is,
is needed.
Right, and so small, like people who haven't, businesses who haven't done a 401k, there's a lot of good credits, like Secure 2.0. I know we're gonna get into too many details here today, but Secure 2.0, basically they're saying, hey, we realize that people are not retiring. They are not retiring, and of course, forget everything else as far as like, if we're
Sure.
gonna have a dollar, okay? Just in the conversation of retiring, and Secure 2.0 is saying by 2025, you're gonna be able to put up to 10 grand into a Roth, right? So when you wanna make sure that you are, understanding what you have options out there, they're trying to provide as many options as possible, right?
Absolutely.
401ks, you can do, if you've never had a 401k, you can get the tax credits for the cost, full percent of all the 100% of cost right now for
That
the
the,
first 5 years
Person
for
would
a
take.
business. Yep, that has employees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the cost of a 401k to start it up,
Oh, okay.
they're giving the tax credit for that,
Okay.
which is great, right? It's good because wasn't even a thing. And so as long as you haven't had one yet and you haven't ever started that 401k, or at least in the last, you're able to start a 401k and do that. So there's quite a bit of little things that are out there and available for businesses that, it's about the education. It's about
That's
getting
right.
out there.
Information.
Man, information, and then somebody to help you get it done.
Yeah.
And I'm a get it done kind of girl.
I always wanted to say this is just funny on the side. You ever watch Seinfeld?
Oh yeah.
And there's a scene where Norman, the mailman,
Yeah.
and he goes, when you control
Is it
The
the mail? If you control somebody's mail,
if you control the mail, you control information.
Yeah.
He said,
He's always like, what does
information.
he say?
Yeah, you control the information. So
You need this,
information
don't
is
you?
key. Yeah. So I know.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's not to say that I'm a math wizard or a financial wizard, but knowing the knowing money, learning the rules and where your money
Learn the rules of
goes.
money.
That's right.
Yes.
It's made a world of change because and I actually saved myself money. I get more services or more
Good.
merchandise
Trying
for
to be
that.
more
Right.
intentional
Absolutely.
about what you got.
That's right. So becoming financially educated is very important. It's as much as learning to read.
It is. Actually, it was a good meme that you got the other day that said, hey, listen, you can have somebody who doesn't read or somebody who chooses not to read, and there's no difference.
Yeah.
You if you can read or you can't read. If you don't read, then you're not any different or better or whatever. If you don't. So, but having said that, did you? And I know we got to probably wrap up here, but have you done or learned about the Rule of 72, Don?
I remember from college when
I never learned
when
in
was
college.
it double, right?
Yeah.
8 years.
And you remember
Sure.
that? You say sure. Like, doesn't everybody remember everything from college? Of course we do.
No, it's not from college.
By the way.
That's from the 2 years that I studied.
Okay, because you said I
Yeah.
thought you said college.
One of the biggest proponents. I mean, this guy, Michael Hudson.
Yeah.
He's a professor. I think he started in New York, and he's over for Chicago. No, he's in Missouri. He started in Chicago, went to New York, worked for Chase.
Okay.
And now he's out in Missouri.
Go ahead.
I think he's in Missouri. This man worked for the United States government way back in the 60s.
Names. Okay.
And I read I think he's got 5 or 6. I read 4 of his books. And the man knows.
Yeah.
If you want to know.
On how to do.
If you want to study money. It's nothing to do with what's going on now or anything like that.
No, but just
it's studying
understanding.
Right.
And is that where did he explain the Rule of 72 there?
Probably, yeah. I don't recall. But go ahead.
No, that's okay. It was just it's one of those things where that blew me away. Whenever I was talking with the broker actually I decided to work with, and of course then once I decided to think about doing this, I thought, well, what about this company? What about that company? Like my cousin works he did work for Chase back in the day in Michigan.
Okay.
I know Michigan, right? Don't hold it against me.
I'll tease you for now on.
Yeah, but that's it.
And a couple people I know from.
Yeah, we're all there. Well,
Yeah.
actually, in court we have several Michiganders, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't even know that. That's
I have
like a
to
real
keep
thing.
it quiet where
You're
I'm
like,
from.
You're like, oh, yeah. Well, it's funny, and I'll get back to my story in a second. But on the same note of Michigan, it's funny because half the family is blue, half of them Spartan. You know what I mean? No, actually, we don't have half Spartan. We have like a couple handfuls, but they are strong Spartans, right?
And you all claim Brady.
I have zero desire for Brady to be very clear on everybody.
Boy, it got
Anybody-
serious awful quick.
Do you see the face? I have zero. So I was
The most
actually,
Michigan
I'm a
people I know
Manning fan.
claiming.
I'm a Manning fan.
Okay.
And I'm a Peyton Manning specifically, and I've always been, so therefore, because of the whole Patriot life.
Sure.
It was so that was where I created that deep desire. My kids are like, say something about or say something about,
Manning.
not about Manning, but Brady.
Brady.
So, and then watch her go. So, but I watched.
So I hit a nerve. I got something.
Good job, buddy. All right. One hour he gets it done. Which it's true. It's the funny thing is that I'm like, okay, really, he's got talent. So it's not like I'm not, crazy or stupid. However, you don't have to like somebody just because they got talent, right?
It's all in good.
It's all in good stuff. But I actually stopped watching football because I was like, why do I watch something that makes my blood pressure go up so quickly?
Wow.
So anyway, outside of that.
Well, I'll give you mine.
Oh, who was it?
I grew up in Cincinnati,
Okay.
and I'm a Pete Rose fan.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
watched a pitch of baseball since they kicked Pete Rose. They won't
You
let Pete
won't
Rose.
watch it anymore?
I've never watched a pitch. Won't take my kid. Never won't do it. Nothing to do with baseball.
Oh.
They could close it down for all I care.
Yeah.
Till they
Shut
make-
down baseball.
Till
for
they
the
make the
rest of time.
decision to get the best player ever played back in. I ain't doing
What,
nothing.
yeah, which at this point, I mean,
I'm glad to see them. I'm glad to see
Bye.
attendance go down.
You're
That's
like,
right.
oh, you have no seats? Oh.
That's all right. No pity from Don. That's right.
Don gives no crap. That's
But
amazing.
by the way, I'm a Manning too.
Are you a Manning fan?
oh, yeah.
He's good peeps,
Yeah.
man. That's the thing for me. I'm like, I want you good and inside and outside of the field. And for me, in my industry, it's the same thing. Like I have a lot of passion for what I do. So when I see individuals who really care about the money that they're making more than they do their clients, it creates a real crusader in me. And I would say that's something else. I'm a crusader for my families and for my businesses.
awesome.
And I just think it's important for you to do that. So also, hence why I feel like you can sleep great at night. Not because I have beautiful sheets. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, outside of that though, it is funny because here in Florida, my father was a FSU, my other part. So it's like we got a half of Gators, and we don't even talk about Miami. It's not even a thing. But anyways, so then I married a Hurricane fan. So
Okay.
it's whatever. So having said that, going back to the conversation of my cousin worked for a bank, and so I looked around at different things. And bringing it back to that, I was sitting with my broker, and when he was talking about the rule of 72, I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, wait a minute, where were you 20 years ago when I was, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I was like, this is ridiculous. And I think it might have been like 23 or 24 or something like that at the time. He's a young guy. And he was like, I don't know, diapers. I'm like, ha ha ha. You're so funny. But in reality, I'm like, this is crazy. Had I understood, right? So maybe I didn't get to do what I needed to for my kids. But I am absolutely going to set my grandbaby up, and not just set him up so he's a spoon-fed person, because I'm not, but also educating. And so I give how many books for adults and for kids, and it's really for the adults to help teach the kids, right?
That's awesome.
But it's such an amazing deal. So all of my clients get that, and
That's good.
it's like, hey, how can we really make better choices in an easy way? And you don't have to think it all up and do a bunch of research. I did it for you, so here we go. Right? So
Right.
yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
That is, because it
Workshops
all
are-
comes back to information.
It does.
And what you know.
Right.
And
And
do you have a
breaking it down.
desire? So if you get that priority in there, hey, look, you can have a better life in retirement. You can have a better life now if you let your money work for you as opposed to working for the money.
Yeah, exactly. So most people do work really hard for their money, right? Like the ones that are still working, we work really, really hard. And you, by the way, are working
I
really
used
hard.
to.
You still do. You're here working. You didn't have to leave your comfortable house and come do a podcast with me.
Oh, and I like
Right.
people too.
Yeah, but that's it. I was like, well, hopefully it feeds you
Yeah.
too. Hopefully it does feed
Yeah.
you too, but it's still work, right? Like my work feeds me, more than just food, but it feeds my soul. But when you can break something down, when you can share your I Am Lakeland with somebody and be able to put their business out there and they can get some notability, that probably makes you feel good,
Absolutely.
right?
Oh yeah, the endorphins just come flying.
Yeah, and
You-
I get paid on endorphins
I'm
every
drowning
day.
here just talking to you.
That's actually literally my goal. And,
There you
and
go.
I didn't realize that until many years later, till some people, and again, this isn't a pat on my back, but at the same time, I go, okay, it's good to recognize things that people are saying, good, bad, and ugly, right? So my perception of myself was whatever it was, but when I kept hearing, thank you so much, that really, it makes sense to me now. or when I was brought back to HCC, I do a lot of financial workshops, which I love. Those are my favorite things, you know, right? 'Cause I wanted to be a teacher. I just don't like parents.
That's a cool one.
Really what it comes down to is I didn't want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't change, really make a difference like you think you're going to as a teacher. So anyways, but this I can, right? And so I can break things down, and I'll use these boards. So I was talking to the Adriana here at Cohatch, and I thought, if I do a financial workshop, I can use these boards, and I draw things. I use CALs for drawings. And I break down hard financial concepts to a level where we can all understand on things that we do on a daily basis. So it's just easy to understand, right? And that's something else I can bring to the table that I think is important.
I agree.
Instead of talking over your head, which is what I've experienced as
you
female,
you have a few moments with them. You
Yeah.
find out where they're at, what they
Right.
know, and then build on top of that.
Exactly. Asking questions is
Well, how can people get in contact with you
if they
they
would like to.
take the time to listen to this podcast?
I know we had a lot of stuff today, so hopefully they're like got an extra hour of their time to just. So a good way to get in contact with me is probably just my cell phone. I use my cell phone for
Go
both
ahead.
business and it's 863-640-0804. And I go on Facebook a lot. Every day I put on something. So even if they just want to go onto Facebook and get like a financial tip, I pretty much put something out minimum twice a week, but usually on a daily basis right now.
And what is your account there?
It's actually under, I want to say Kari, I think it might have Kari Pate on there, and it's KM Solutions.
KM Solutions, and it's KARIE.
It is. It's just like Katie, but with an R, which is why I get Katie often. Even
Oh,
my
okay.
phone doesn't know how to say Kari. It says Katie. So it's Kari, Karie, and then Pate is just Pate. But it's Pate Valdez. Probably gonna drop the Pate and just bring on the Valdez, just for that's happening right now. So I should probably start saying that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for taking
what
the
a
time. This
fun
is so much
conversation.
more fun than I
Heck yeah.
ever imagined, honestly.
I'm shocked every time I go out and say hi to somebody.
Yeah.
If they got the time to talk to me, man, you learn so much, and you find out people are so good, people are so sweet.
Yeah, there's a lot of good out there, isn't there?
There is.
I agree.
And thank you, Cohatch, again, for letting me use it.
Beautiful. I told Adriana, I walked in here and I've already called 2 or 3 people and said, hey, and I took pictures and videos. I'm like, you gotta come check it out.
It is a
absolutely
nice,
amazing, hands down, the coolest place. So.
and you can visit iamlakeland.com as well.
Yes.
Take a look at the directory that we have, appreciate it, and maybe support Lakeland with buying some merchandise.
Yes, I was gonna say, look at this cup, which by the way, I did hear, this is a real life story, right, testimony, just this morning, who said this is one of the best cups she has ever had.
Wow.
Yeah, Brandy, she
That's
said,
awesome.
she's like, no, I love it. The cup itself is so good. She goes, I don't go anywhere without it. And I said, well, noted, I'm gonna go buy one.
Thank you,
So,
absolutely.
that's what it takes, right? Personal, word of mouth is the key.
Well, I'll have one for you for next week at
I
court.
will have, so how do we do that? How do we do I Am Lakeland? Can we get merchandise like on I Am
You can go on
Lakeland?
and buy it anytime you like.
Okay, cool. So
Absolutely.
just iamlakeland.com?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
so everybody do that. Get a cup.
Thank you so much.
With hats, maybe shirts.
That's right, merchandise.
Okay, all the
Oh,
merchandise, all the
that's
things.
right.
Thank you, Don.
Well, thank you, Kari.
Good
Thank you
times.
so much.